Good evening. I'm Dave Smith. I'm going to introduce Joe in a second. First two housekeeping things. One is, if you have your cell phone with you, please turn it off or set it to vibrate or something else that won't interfere with Joe's talk. Secondly, in case of an emergency, what do we do?
Stay put.
For those couple of faces who aren't familiar, we just stay put. We'll get instructions. So Joe has written this and asked me to read it to you all. Woodland Pond resident Joe Cosentino acted in principal roles on stage and screen with stars like Bruce Willis, Rosie O'Donnell, Nathan Lane, Jason Robards, and Holland Taylor. He was a theater professor at Dutchess County Community College for 33 years, 18 of those as chair of the arts department. Tonight, Joe will speak about his 34 published novels, I think all or most of them here, share his writing process, read an excerpt, and answer your questions. So please welcome Joe Cosentino. Then I'll walk around for the Q&A part with the microphone.
Well, thank you. And yes, I did write my own introduction. Somebody's got to do it.
Fred would have done it.
So, I know some of you have read my books already. Do you know how I know? I looked in the library sign-out. So I know who's read what books, and I've got it all up here. But tonight, I've written 34 books, as Dave said. But tonight, we're going to talk about my mysteries, because in our library here, I'm on the library committee, our most popular books are the mysteries. So we're going to talk about mysteries. How many people like mysteries? Yay, of course, we all love mysteries. What do you like, and Dave's got the microphone, what is it that you like about mysteries, if anybody wants to? I was a teacher, so I'm going to see if people want to tell us. What is it about mysteries that makes it the most popular genre? I win. Dave, we've got somebody up here. Dave's going to bring you the mic. So
Oh, I'm doing questions now, okay.
not questions yet, answers.
Okay.
The challenge of solving the puzzle. Great.
I didn't know I was going to be.
Any other ideas? Joyce has some.
The satisfaction and the puzzle, the satisfaction when the puzzle is solved.
Right, the satisfaction when everything is in its right place and everything is solved. All the pieces come together. Okay. Anything else before we? Yes. Carol.
You didn't tell me this full time.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's a way to escape. It's a way to escape
Right.
from your ordinary life.
Right, yes. And when I was a kid, I had terrible insomnia. Guess what put me to sleep? Reading mysteries. Because I would do what you're saying. I would try to work out all the pieces in my mind and figure out how does this go here, 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 until I got to the puzzle, solving the puzzle. So, I want to first tell you a little bit about me, then about my mysteries, and then talk about the process of writing a mystery novel. And I'll start out by saying, I was discovered at 3 years old when my sister and my older sister, my older cousin, said to me, we want to put on a nativity play. My sister was going to be Mary, my cousin was going to be Joseph, and they wanted me to be Jesus. And I was the star, and I loved it. And so I began in our backyard doing our shows. And then I went to college, majored in theater, which nearly killed my mother because my cousins were lawyers. And she's Italian, and she was cooking vegetables. And I said, Mom, I want to major in theater in college. And she said, oh, that's nice. Would you do me a favor? Take this knife and stick it through my heart. That went over big. Yeah, that went over really big. But then, after college, I started to get work. as Dave said, I did TV and film and theater, and then I became a college professor, 33 years, as Dave said. And during that time, the last maybe 10 years only, I wrote 34 novels. And my father's reaction to that was, you wrote 34 novels? I haven't even read 34 novels in my whole life, but I did. And my mother's reaction was, don't you have anything better to do than write books? I wonder if Stephen King's mother said that. So I wrote mystery series, and that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. So, my first series is the Janet Lane Mysteries. And Janet Lane was a child star in the 1950s. And now it's been, and she was attacked on her studio set at 18. They never found out who did it. Now she's 40 years old, living in the Hudson Valley. I put all the Hudson Valley locations in here. The FDR mansion and the Roosevelt, Vanderbilt, there you go. Some of them have read my books, I told you about that. The Vanderbilt and various locations. And now she's getting attacked again. She's married with children, living in a mansion, because she was the child star, the biggest child star. She was like Haley Mills, like the biggest child star. Now she's getting attacked again. And she figures out in Paper Doll who her attacker was then and is now. And she finds out a lot of secrets about everybody in her life, her family, her friends, that she didn't know. She's so proud of herself for saving her life and solving this mystery that she makes a comeback and does a movie as an adult. And she solves a mystery on the movie set that she is working in. And the same, that's a porcelain doll. Same in satin doll, but this one she goes to Washington, D.C. And China doll, she does a Broadway show. And she solves a murder mystery on the Broadway stage. And then she does a TV series in Ragdoll, where she solves a murder mystery there. So there's 5 books in this series, and a little later I'm going to do a reading from Paper Doll, the first one. But let's talk about some of my other series.
He's talking about what you wrote.
What you wrote?
This is the Nikki and Noah Mysteries. There are 18 in this series. And this one, Nikki and Noah are college theater professors. And they solve murder mysteries on their college campus. There are 5 murders in each book. So whenever anybody ticked me off on my college campus, I murdered them in one of my books. Now, there's 18. You know how many people must have ticked me off? 18 times 5. That's a lot of people. Yeah. So, of course, I changed the names and what they looked like and things. And they aren't all on the college campus. The college campus is patterned after Vassar College, even though I taught in Dutchess. And Nikki and Noah take their act on the road, and they start doing plays on the road. And as Fred and I traveled, Nikki and Noah traveled. So they went to a lot of wonderful places, as I did. And so the first one, Drama Queen, is how they meet and how they solve the mystery on the college campus. While they're doing a show, a Jack the Ripper theater show, appropriately enough. Drama Muscle, they direct a bodybuilding competition at the college, and they solve a murder mystery there. And this is me. This is Fred and me. As we did, Nikki and Noah go on a cruise to Alaska, and they do a murder mystery dinner theater and solve a real life murder mystery, 5. Then as we did, they go to Maui, and they go to a luau and they solve, they direct a luau show, and they solve a murder mystery there. And they do a musical version, let's see if I can read this. Okay, this is sort of funny. So they do a musical version of Holmes and Watson at the college, and it's called Is Holmes a Homo? So there you go. 5 murders, they solve. They direct a horror movie shot on campus. 5 murders. As we did, they go to Scotland, and they do a movie there and solve the murder mystery there. I think this is funny that his kilt comes up. I always wondered, how did their kilt stay down? Then they're back at college for Christmas, and they do the Nutcracker. They direct the Nutcracker, and there's 5 murders. They solve mystery. They do a Shakespeare play, the college solving mystery. They do a Midsummer Night's Dream, my favorite, Shakespeare. Then they branch out and they, at the college, do a runway modeling show they direct. And again, 5 murders solved, the mysteries. They do a musical version of Ebenezer Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, solve mysteries. And in this one, in this musical version, Scrooge is a cross-dresser, so they call the musical Call Me Carol. Musical of drama of Peter Pan. And they, again, 5 murders, they solve. They do a TV show, shooting on the campus. They do The Wizard of Oz, musical version of that. They do a musical version of Cinderella. Robin Hood, 1776. And finally, in the last one, they do a musical version called Knights in Tights. It's about Robin Hood and his merry men, 5 murders, and again, they solve all of them. So it's a lot of murdering going on. And my last mystery series is the player piano mysteries. I've always been fascinated by player pianos. And so this grade school music teacher buys an antique player piano, and out of the piano comes a ghost from the dapper roaring 20s. He's the sort of dapper, charismatic playboy ghost. And he doesn't know how he got there, like Topper, he just gets there. And the 2 of them solve murder mysteries. And so there's actually 4 stories in the 2 books. They travel together. This one's in Tuscany, where we went. And the first one takes place in the Hudson Valley. So those are my murder mysteries. This, the 5 Cozy Cove series. Cozy Cove is a resort on the New Jersey shore. It's not really a mystery, but there's a lot of mystery elements in this series because nothing is what it seems when you read the book. Everything is turned upside down. There's 5 of these, and again, that's me on the cover. I worked out a lot. So I thought next I would do a reading from Paper Doll, the first Jana Lane mystery. And then we could talk about writing mysteries. No longer postponing the inevitable, Jana rested back on the tree stump outside her mansion. As she peered out at a tree with a yellow ribbon tied around it, she thought of how her life had been held hostage during the past 20 years. With eyes sealed tightly shut, she blurted out to her best friend Jackson standing over her, "The dreams I keep having are flashbacks. I see myself at the studio when I was 18, on the set of my last film, on the final day of shooting. We're outside in Lot C. After my father, playing the town sheriff, makes me an assistant sheriff, I strike my last pose in my horse, Ginger. She bucks underneath me, but I control her until Mr. Leclerc, the director, yells, 'Cut!' Hank, the trainer, helps me off my horse. A few speeches are made. My agent, my sister, Mr. Cavoto, the studio head, and his son are there. Everyone applauds. As usual, you walk inside to your dressing room with your agent." She opened her eyes. "How did you know that, Jackson?" "He'd been at a blade of grass. I just assumed." "You really are good at this, chum." A satisfied nod from Jackson led her eyelids to closing. My agent, Simon, waves at someone who passes us in the hallway. Then a flash hurts my eyes. I think it's a photographer. Simon approaches him, scolds him, I think, and then leaves me alone. This part of the dream occurs again and again and again. "Tell me." After a shaky breath, she said, "A masked figure in black appears in front of my dressing room door. I'm forced into a dark corridor, pushed down onto the floor. We struggle. His touch is angry, but somehow familiar. I try to scream, but nothing." She opened her eyes. "Then what?" "Then Jana Lane, the girl who swam the rapids, climbed Mount Everest, parachuted from a plane to save the world from mad scientists in her movies, wept uncontrollably in a psychiatric hospital for nearly a year while the masked man got off free." "How do you know it was a man?" She replayed her nightmare and came to a realization. I guess I don't." Her eyes suddenly swam in tears. "Jackson, the 20 years since I left Hollywood, I've been hiding. Hudson Valley housewife, mother, community fundraiser, they're shields. So I don't have to face an assault and a breakdown from when I was 18 years old. Or face something worse." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Maybe I should see a shrink again." Jackson diagnosed in his best German accent. "You don't need a shrink, you have me." I wish I had Brian too. She knew Jackson would understand. Jackson helped her to her feet and laid a pansy in the palm of her hand. "Your husband will come around. So will the FDR benefit," she said, happy to change the subject. After a nervous glance at her watch, she added, "Let's get to work." The room was cold and full of ominous shadows. As the viewer waited in anticipation, the most famous child star in history filled the screen nearby. Jana Lane at 18 in Sugar and Spice was dressed in a canary and brown leather cowgirl suit and matching boots. With determination beaming from her face, she pushed a kidnapper off a cliff and lifted her little friend Timmy onto her horse. After she sped Timmy down the mountain to safety, her father, the sheriff, kissed her on the cheek and proudly presented her with an assistant sheriff's badge. Jana remounted her horse Ginger and waved her cowgirl hat triumphantly as Ginger stood up on tall hind legs. As Jana's celluloid face filled the room, restless fingers lifted a glass of liquid and sent it crashing into orange droplets against the screen. Eerie laughter transformed into a hushed voice. It's time to play again, Jana. The first time was sweet, but the second time will be so much sweeter. Oh, you know I love applause, so thank you. So, well, first let's just talk a little bit more about the 5 Jana Lane mysteries, because they take place in the Hudson Valley, and I use the Hudson Valley locations. Since I was an actor, and Jana Lane was a child star, and then later made a comeback as an adult, and was an actress doing film and television theater as I did, I used a lot of my experiences in writing the novels. They say, write what you know. So that's what I did. In the 18 funny Nick Yanoa mysteries, since they're theater college professors, I used, there's nothing more dramatic, I think, than the theater department of a college. There's always drama. And so I used a lot of my background, the 33 years that I taught theater at Jackson Community College, in that series. With the player piano mysteries, I was never a music teacher. Obviously, I was never a ghost that came out of a player piano. So for this, I had to use my imagination a lot and really think about, well, what if this and what if that? And so it was a lot of fun. But the locations they went to, just like in all of my books, were all locations that we traveled to. So I was able to use those locations. So before I take your questions, I wanted to just give you a little insight into how I write mysteries, and in case maybe some of you someday want to write a mystery. And then we can see if there's any questions, because I know you said that you all love mysteries. So how I start is, I usually wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a terrific idea. Now, why does it come at 3 o'clock in the morning? I don't know. It can't come at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I wake up and I think of a really clever twist ending. And I immediately write that down. And then I work backwards, because each of my books has a really big surprise. And Fred will tell you, I have fooled him in every single one of them. He's my first reader, and he's like, I didn't guess it. So the first thing I do is think of a surprise ending. And then I work back to write down clues, red herrings, which are clues that really aren't clues. And I figure out how I'm going to camouflage the clues, so they'll be there, but not really evident. Some plot twists and turns. And the clues have to justify and end up to the ending. I don't like mysteries, where you read a mystery, and out of nowhere they pick somebody who did it. You say, well, where did that come from? You should, and I do in every one of my books. The sleuth goes back, tracks everything that has happened, and you go, oh, of course. That clue, that clue, that clue, that clue. How did I miss that? And they go through and they track all the clues to the surprise, hopefully, ending. I also like mysteries where each book is a mystery. I don't like when you have to go to the next book and the next book to find out who did it. Each and every one of these books is a different mystery. You don't have to read them in order. It helps though. And so it isn't a continuing story where I've got to read 18 books to find out who did it. I hate that. So each one is its own mystery. All of my books have a lot of humor, because I love humor. They all have romance, because romance is fun. Strong characters, interesting settings, and what I try to do in my books is not put it all in the first chapter. I find most mysteries that I read, I'm very captivated the first chapter or two, and I'm very captivated in the end when I find out who did it. In the middle, I'm bored. And so I try to have new developments, new characters, new clues, as we go throughout the story to keep the reader hooked all the way through. So, my writing tips. If you would like to be a writer, the first thing I would say is read all of my books. I would say that anyway. But I would say read mysteries. I probably read hundreds of mysteries before I wrote a mystery. And how I started writing was, I mentioned I was an actor, and I said, you know, I could write plays. So as many of you saw, I wrote plays. And I wrote other plays that you'll see in the future here. Then I started to read many, many, many mysteries, and I thought I could do that. So I did. I started writing mysteries. So the first thing is to read. And as we said when we first started, the great thing about mysteries are their puzzles. You get to place clues and figure out who did it and try to put all the pieces together. My second tip is to write every day. I wrote every night for 2 hours. And a lot of people tell me, I want to be a writer, I want to write a book. It's been 10 years, I can't really get finished. But if you write 2 hours every night, you will finish. That's the secret. Write what you know about, as I said, travel, and write about that. Talk to people. The more people you talk to, the more characters. I've probably written hundreds and hundreds of characters, and they're all different. And so the more people you talk to and get to know, the more kind of characters form in your books. And one funny thing happens, somebody at my college said to me, oh, I loved your book, I laughed, and it was just so funny, and you fooled me, I didn't know who did it at the end. But that one character was so mean. What a mean character. Well, that was based on that person.
You didn't get it.
Totally did, which is why they're the way they are. They totally don't get anything. So this person would insult people in department meetings and totally didn't get that somebody might not really like that. But that would be a problem for people. Find your own style. Don't try to impersonate someone. I have a really wild sense of humor, so in my books I use that because that's who I am. I don't want to copy somebody else and try to write like them. It will just come forward very artificial. Then, once you've got that first draft, for me it takes 3 weeks, for people it takes various things. Once you've got the first draft, show it to a trusted reader, someone who can read it and give you honest feedback. Honest feedback isn't, I hated it. That doesn't help anybody. Or, oh, I loved it, it's perfect. That doesn't help either. Really honest feedback of, well, what about this here? And I didn't get this here. I love this part here. Could we do this here? I remember with my Cozy Cove Beach series, these are all books are published by small publishers. And the small publisher would give me an editor and a copy artist, cover artist. And I remember this editor said there was this female character in the book who owned the restaurant where they all went to. And I just had her as the person who owned the restaurant. So it was a place to go and people could talk to her and say their problems and things. And she said, I think that character could be so much more than that. And I gave that character a life. And it just took off. She was a really special character that a lot of people really, really liked. And had that editor not said that, I would have never thought of that. So somebody who can give you some good critiques, some good ideas, then you query agents. And what that means is you look up who are the literary agents that represent writers of whatever genre you're writing, and you send them a description of your book. So they don't want the book yet. They just want a description. So, for example, I'll read you one of them. Janet Lane was America's most famous child star until she was attacked on the studio lot at 18 years old. Now a 38-year-old beauty and mother of two, living in a mansion in picturesque Hudson Valley, New York, Janet's flashbacks from her past turn into murder attempts in her present. The local suspects include Janet's down-on-his-luck husband with a dislike for living off the fruits of his wife's young labor, Janet's sister and male friend, who both have eyes for Janet's husband, Janet's show business father, her deranged loyal fan, and Janet's young guy Friday, who shares an uncanny resemblance to her. Forced to summon up the lost courage she had as a child, Janet visits the California movie studio she once called home. This sends her on a whirlwind of visits with former and current movie studio personnel. It also leads to a romance with the son of her old producer, Rocco Cavoto, the devilishly handsome filmmaker who is planning Janet's comeback, both professionally and personally. With Rocco's help, Janet uncovers a web of secrets about everyone she loves, including the person who destroyed her past and threatens to snuff out her future. So this was written to hopefully get somebody to want to read it, starting out with an agent saying, I want to read it. So then an agent might say, I want to read the first 3 chapters. That's what they say. Then hopefully say, I want to read the book. And then hopefully they want to send it out. And a really big publisher wants to publish it. In my case, I'm with small publishers, but I was just happy to be published, to be honest. I was so excited when my first book was published. It didn't matter that they were small publishers. I was just really excited to be published. So I'll just read one more. This is shorter. The Nikki and O Mysteries, Drama Queen was the first. So this is what I wrote to try to get people interested. It could be curtains for college theater professor Nikki Abundanza. With dead bodies popping up all over campus, Nikki must use his drama skills to figure out who is playing the role of murderer before it is lights out for Nikki and his colleagues. Complicating matters is Nikki's huge crush on Noah Oliver, a gorgeous assistant professor in his department, who may or may not be involved with Nikki's cocky graduate assistant and is also the top suspect for the murder. You will be applauding and shouting bravo for Joe Cosentino's fast-paced, side-splittingly funny, edge of your seat, delightfully entertaining novel, Curtain Up. So, again, the idea is to make people's whistle. And the funny thing about this series is, obviously, since it's the Nikki and Noah mysteries, Noah wasn't the murderer, obviously. But the funny thing about this series is Nikki and Noah dress up in costumes and use their acting skills, play characters to get information from people, to interview people who didn't want to be interviewed by the police. So, I have a lot of fun with that as well. Then, and hopefully you get published, then what you want to make sure is that your books are available as mine are in all formats: ebook, paperback, and audiobook. My paperbacks are in the Woodland Pond Library, but my ebooks, audiobooks, and paperbacks are available on Amazon and any online seller that sells them. Because some people don't like paperbacks, some people don't like ebooks, some people don't like audiobooks. So if you have everything, then you can have whatever people are interested in. Then finally, what I did was I took some of my novels and I wrote screenplay versions of them. And now what I'm trying to do is get them produced as TV series or movies. And my dream is that they will all be shot at Woodland Pond. And I'll become very rich and famous. And when you see me, I will say, oh yes, I remember you. No, but that is the dream, right, of every novelist, that your book would be made into a TV movie or a film or something like that. So that's all the information that I would like to share with you. And I'd love to know if you have questions, or Dave is going to go first. See, that's the power of the
I
microphone.
have a question. I have a two-part question. Are you still writing? And for your future writing, might there be some characters in this room who could see themselves in some future version of your works?
Well, you're trying to get me in trouble then.
Hardly.
Yeah.
You don't need my help.
Yeah. No, I haven't been writing plays or novels anymore, but what I've been doing is writing screenplays and teleplays and trying to get them produced. Nobody in this room or in Woodland Pond is in them because I wrote all them before I knew all that. But they say never say never. So keep coming to our theater nights. You never know, maybe you'll show up.
I got a couple questions over here.
Are your books available in large print?
No, but, good question. One thing I insisted on, they're pretty large.
Thank you.
So even though they're not large print, they're large print. Yeah, if you can see it, this is big print, yeah. Oh, yes.
I just had a question about the 2 hours of writing. Because I'm thinking, when you get involved, do you make yourself stop at 2 hours and write your last thoughts down, or how do you manage that?
Okay, Margaret, I'll admit, there were some times where Fred knocked on my study door and said, are you coming to bed? So yes, there are times when I can't stop. And I will go over 2 hours. But why I'm saying 2 hours is, I don't want to go under 2 hours. So there were times when I didn't get enough sleep, that I went over because I'm in the middle of the scene. It's coming, it's flowing, the voices are talking in my head. I can't stop them. And so I'm not gonna go to bed, I'm gonna finish that scene. And then I might take notes for the next scene. But what I'm saying is I don't wanna go under the 2 hours.
Alice got a question here.
Okay, whoever has
I'm on the subject of large print.
Yeah.
As you probably know, that is a major feature of our libraries, both here and in the health center. And you seem to want to cover the waterfront. Not everyone needs a large print book, but a lot of people do. And really, I'm sure you've looked at them in the library and see that size print, which is significantly more. And you don't realize you need it until you need it and understand that. So I didn't know if you were willing to, or how one gets a large print book. But it's a very powerful for people that are getting less and less able to read, it's a very powerful medium.
Yes, great idea, Alice. There's a publisher or publishers that specifically do large print books. So I or anyone would contact them and see if they would do large print.
I was wondering if you sit in a certain chair, go to a certain room, if you're in a special place to write.
That's a good question, Lucy. Well, these books were written in our home, not before we came to Woodland Pond. And I had a really nice big study with a fireplace and a picture window looking out over the woods. And it was a really good place to write. And I think that is important, that you get a place where hopefully you're looking out at trees and you don't have people coming through or children or to distract you, but it's quiet and it's a peaceful place that you can just let go. Because that's what you do. You literally let yourself go. And it's like you channel these voices and you hear these voices and you have to be in a comfortable, quiet place.
I'm curious about the 5 murders per book. Why 5 murders per book?
It started because the mysteries I read, in the middle of the book, I would be bored. They would be recapping what happened. You would sit, is this ever going to finish? So I said, well, what if, instead of 1, there were 5 murders throughout the book, and it was a serial killer. And so there would be a lot more involved in the murders. Now that's only the Nicky and Noah mysteries. The player piano mysteries are, I think, just a couple, and just 2. And the Janeway mysteries, 2 or 3 per book. It was to keep the momentum going.
One last thing, for people who need large print books, audiobooks are an excellent alternative when your vision is not up to snuff. I have been taking audiobooks out of the New York Public Library, like 3 a week, and it's fabulous.
I'm so glad you said that, Deborah, because I'm working really hard to get my books on audiobook. Most of them are there, but there's still a few I haven't gotten yet. But I'm determined. I think it's very important. Yeah, thank you.
I've heard other authors talk about that they start from the beginning and then they wonder what the character is going to do. And let the character and the environment speak for it, and so they don't know how the book is going to come out.
Right.
And you seem to have gone in the opposite direction. Do both work effectively?
My opinion is if you're writing a mystery and you don't know, you just sort of see who does it at the end, it's probably not going to be a great mystery because it's not plotted the way you would want a mystery. However, I have also written some romance, and some of you I know have read some of my romance. And in that case, I am not as tied to, I have an idea of where it's going to start and end. I know that. And my lead characters. But I'm not tied down to everything, and I do let things organically happen as they happen. Because it's not a mystery. So I think in romance, sure.
Outlining a mystery?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I use an outline for the mysteries, not the romance.
Got one over here.
Yeah, Joe, you talk about these ideas coming storming out of your head, and it must take a long time to write that stuff down. Have you ever thought about using a recorder of some sort?
Yeah, I could. That's a great idea. You know why, Ralph? Because sometimes at 3 in the morning I would get a great idea, I would write, and then I couldn't read it the next morning. Luckily, I would remember. But a recorder's a great idea, unless you erase it accidentally. Yeah.
I actually have 2 questions.
Okay.
One is, why do you write standalone? And
Put it closer.
and haven't thought about writing one that continues for 2 or 3 books.
Yeah. certainly know there's a lot of continuing series that are popular. I really like when a book ends, it ends. However, Carol, you will be happy to know, the story of Nicky and Noah, for example, does develop throughout the books. So they meet, they get engaged, they get married, they adopt a son, the son gets married, the son adopts. So there is a story of the leading characters that does evolve throughout the book, but each book has its own history. Same thing with Janet Lane. She and her husband and children, their personal story grows from book to book to book, but in each book, she solves a different mystery.
And the second question is, why did you stop at 5 with Jana Lane? And then the next one is a series of 18 books.
Yeah. I actually have readers who are begging and pleading, believe it or not, for more Jana Lane mysteries and more Nicky and Noah mysteries, threatening me, please, please, please. Something happens, I think most writers will tell you this, when you just get the message that it's over, that you've done everything you want to do. You don't want to repeat yourself. You don't want to have an inferior story. And you've done everything you can do with those characters. It's like when your favorite TV show ends, and you say, why did, and they ask the writer, and the writer said, we did everything we could do effectively with those characters. We didn't want to repeat ourselves. So that was the feeling I got. And it was 5 here, 18 here, 2 here, though these are 4 stories, 5 Cozy Cove, and then there were some standalone romance that I just felt at the end of that story, I did what I had to do, and there just wasn't more to do. Any other questions? Please, we got the microphone.
Were you teaching in the high school or the junior college? Okay. Did you use any of the books then for discussion purposes?
I did. When I taught at Dutch Community College for 33 years, I was writing the books the last 10 to 12 years that I was teaching. And I did tell my students about the books. I didn't require them to read them. That would have been a little big-headed. But I did tell them, and many of them did read the books. And they loved, because this is very, very funny, they loved the series. They thought it was hysterical. And again, I patterned this character, this student of Nicky and Noah's, who never stopped talking. He would just keep talking and talking and talking, all about his life and everything in the world. That student read the series, loved it, said about, this is just one criticism, that one character who kept talking so much, is anybody really like that? Any other questions? In our last couple of minutes together, I do want to recommend that you go to the Woodland Pond Library, and as soon as you come in, if you go to the right, you will see the Woodland Pond Authors bookcase, and you will see my books. You will see Joyce and Owen's books. You will see Dick Barry's books. You will see other people who live at Woodland Pond who have had books published. You will see their books there. And it's as easy as signing your name and taking it out. And just know, I read that sign-up list. Who's reading what? Sometimes the selection surprises me. So,
They don't know what they're getting.
well, no, I mean, I haven't gotten complaints, but somebody, I won't say her name because she's not here, but somebody, a resident friend, read one of the middle, I think it was about the 3rd 13th or 14th Nikki Noah Mystery, and I thought, why would she start there?
But she didn't know.
She already read the rest of it.
She already read them. I don't know, maybe
Oh,
she
maybe.
read them. Who knows, maybe she read them, or maybe the title, that concept interested her, maybe she didn't know the order, but I thought that was interesting. Or just the books that you select, I find it really interesting, what interests you, and what kind of book you're drawn to. So as we get to know you too, and what kinds of books you would like. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, if paperbacks aren't your thing, as I said, or if they're out, there are currently a number of them are out, signed out. You could go, as I said, to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, any of these places. If you like ebooks, you know they're cheap ebooks, and you just get them on your Kindle. They're all there, and so please think about that as well. Okay, and I'm working on the audiobooks. About 2/3 of them are on audiobooks, and I'll see what I can do about the large print. But as I said, right now I'm working on the screenplays and teleplays, seeing if anything will come of that. We have one more question.
Just to note that ebooks, you can adjust the size of the print. So if you have trouble reading, if you need a large print, you can get it in ebook size, ebook version, and adjust the print to the large size.
That's a great idea. You know, Fred is an audiobook narrator. He's performed and done many, a couple of hundred, I guess.
100, about 100.
100, about over 100. Yeah, that's good. Audiobooks. None of mine, I didn't want him to do mine.
No.
Because I thought we'd fight. So other people did mine. But he has done over 100 audiobooks. We have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
We've got 7 minutes, so we can take
You would have bought the food for an hour? What do we for that?
what do we think?
Are all your books published by the same publisher?
No. So, that's a good question. So, my Cozy Cove Beach series is published by 9 Star Press. My Jana Lane Mysteries are published by the Wild Rose Press. They're like a Harlequin, and they have a mystery line. My romance are published by Dream Spinner Press. And
The dramas, the romances?
this is all, the Play of Piano is also Dream Spinner Press, the romance Dream Spinner Press. The Nikki Noah Mysteries, I had started out with a publisher, I won't say the name, and I was not happy with the publisher. And so I took the books back and republished them myself, because I didn't like the way they were, what they were doing. I can't give you the name, I don't want to say the name, but they were taken back and republished under my own name.
There's one other tip that you can use if you download ebooks onto your phone. In addition to making the font bigger, you can reverse it so that it's white on black, and that's easier on old eyes.
Great, good idea. Yeah, when I read ebooks, I enlarge it as well. So yeah, that's a great idea. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Get book number 1.
Yes, please go to the library, and it was a pleasure to talk to you tonight. Thank you. Thank you for your help.